Hello everyone. We have two very talented, inspiring talents here today, Alex and Arslan. So welcome.
Thank you.
And today we'll be discussing hyper-realistic world in photography. So let's start with matrix-wise question. What is reality to you, and how do you define reality in an age of social media and internet? Because we live in a social media world, and the reality is so much different than real life and social media. So what is reality to you now? Ladies first.
Well, reality, let's see, that's such a
Yeah.
broad question. I'm really interested in, reality in general, I guess, is what's real to you, and then the more agreement you have from other people, the reality becomes more and more certain. But also I'm really interested in the artificial and the fictional side of life, and that relates to the media, the internet, and I'm really interested in how people can become other people through social media, through Hollywood. My images are very much about taking little bits of what's real inside you and trying to emulate real emotion through an artificial and completely staged universe. So I pull from Hollywood, I pull from social media, also the way that we interact with each other at parties and at social events like this. Depending on who you're talking to and how you're influenced by the conversation, you may become someone else entirely, or you may find another part of you that you didn't know existed. So all of that is different. There's many different facets of reality.
Arslan, your latest exhibition is called While We Are Surfing, and people disconnect while they are surfing. So, but your works filled with fingertips and all this realistic. So, how do you define those reality world?
Well, first of all, let's say that we have three levels of consciousness. The first one, is it okay? Yeah. The first one is we know that we know. Let's say we know how to read and write. The second level of consciousness, we know that we don't know. For example, we don't know. I don't know how to make a rocket. The third one is we don't know, which is I can't even give an example. So that's the blind spot that shapes our reality. That creates the barriers, and then you live your life according to that. So you're not even aware of it. You cannot even perceive it. So what I'm trying to do in my works is trying to find out those blind spots. So that's why I'm trying to break the illusions in photography. And look, this is not what you see. There's something behind that. So I cannot give a definite answer this is reality. It's a frequency, a radio channel, which is keep going on all the time. And then some frequencies are more strong, some of them more well-funded, or some of them are more attractive. And it's you're sharing something with your friends. You have that strong point, the frequency level.
So, all the fingertips you have used in your works from smartphones, are they a proof that no matter what we do, we can't escape from the reality? Because they are you give some...
No, I think it's more it's some kind of another way of understanding the things. While you're surfing, you're completely unaware of those fingerprints. So while we are living this life, we are completely unaware of other things in life. So that was kind of a parallel trigger idea to find out those things. So how many people are aware of while they are surfing on the internet, they are leaving that kind of marks on the screen. So that was the idea. So everything has behind this, there are certain dynamics that shapes it. And then I'm trying to find those blind spots.
And Alex, you are inspired by cinematic conventions and directors such as Hitchcock, and you took some, real movie images, stills, clips, and create your own reality. So, can you briefly talk about your creative journey?
photograph. I had this idea that I wanted a crowd floating around in the water. So I went in a helicopter and I shot the Pacific Ocean from the helicopter. And because I wasn't allowed to put bodies in the middle of the ocean floating because it's going to be too dangerous. And then I went to a big swimming pool, and I put the people in costumes. That's my sister over there in the corner. She's,
right on the left?
Yeah, she's usually ending up in a lot of these pictures.
She looks like you.
She's in a lot of the crowd photos. So if you search for her, she's kind of like Where's Waldo in the crowd photos. So we have a costume designer I work with for many, many years. And we have wigs, and we have fake mustaches, and we put makeup on the men to give them the rosy cheeks. And it's kind of this like heightened idea of the character that they already are. I kind of add a lot of color and the costumes and everything. It just gives it a very heightened sort of cinematic feeling to it. And so I photographed them all. We put a 30-foot ladder in the middle of a swimming pool, and they were floating around me. These cute little tiny
Looks like
people.
it was like movie scene.
And then I combined the Pacific Ocean with the body. So because they needed, it's very important that they have the real elements were shot in camera of what's happening. So earlier I think there was a picture of the house on fire. It's very important to me to keep these, so that was a 9-foot house that I had built just to burn down, and it ended up burning within, I think I had 4 minutes to shoot it. So, and I was shooting with film, so I was just hoping it was all working out. But it's really important to me that I shoot these things in camera because I think that it, although I like images to give you something kind of like something slightly off or something slightly wrong with what you're looking at, I don't necessarily want it to be because you can tell it's a fake photoshopped fire or fake water that I used with a paintbrush tool in Photoshop. So that never happens. It's all, the elements are all there, and it's just a matter of putting the components together like a collage or a painter would in a way.
So speaking of Photoshops, Photoshops and filters have changed almost everything, and they changed the way we look at the photographs. So we don't know what is real or not anymore. And so what do you think about the new term of photography after, in the age of Photoshops and filters?
I think from the invention of photography, it was still, there was a manipulation. I mean, no matter what, the digital world just made it easy. I mean, even if let's say I'm a war photographer from 1930s, and I'm in a war scene and I'm taking a shot, but you don't know what's before and after, or still it's a manipulation.
You create your own reality.
So there's no, in the first place, there's no truth or reality. It's like, this is a daily scene in Bosphorus, actually. But with that manipulation, look, it turns into a completely different thing. For example, it's like, so what I'm trying to do in photography is like, I'm trying to say that do not believe what you see because it's already in the first place what is real anyways, So that's why I'm trying to make that manipulation, and then after that you read the explanation and you say, oh, this is not what I think, this is what it is. This is completely something different. So I don't think there's any definite answer for reality anyways. We have certain perception levels, and there's a lot going on that we are not even aware of it.
You don't use that much like Photoshops or filters in your works, right?
I use a lot of Photoshop, but it's not to create elements, it's to move them together.
But do you think that all those like plugins and Photoshops, they kill the reality, or?
I mean, I'm not really concerned too much with keeping things in one specific reality. I'm interested in a lot of realities. I'm interested in the idea of like people's perception of the past, or people's perception of what Hollywood is, people's perception of what a crowd is. I'm interested in that idea of it more than the actual reality of looking into a crowd and seeing the real thing. I'm more interested in how this crowd to me looks right now when I go home back to Los Angeles and I remember the crowd, and it's gonna look different because we remember things in different ways, and depending on how jet lagged I am right now, I'm gonna have some other kind of filter on it, and you guys might all be naked in my, in my idea when I get back to LA.
So you guys are almost like a biologist looking through a microscope. So what motivates you? Like, do you disconnect your own reality while working on your own project?
Disconnect my own reality, like what it makes sense then. It's like I'm inspired with the things in my life, of course. You know, like let's say this is like a white cube space gallery, an art gallery. I'm showing my work in an art gallery, but here I wanted to explore the illusion of a white cube space. This is not even my photograph actually. I appropriate all these from internet, download them. These are from different artists and different venues around the world, and then I removed all the artwork and I painted the walls with white again. But when you look at it, you think that it's an empty space, but it's not actually, because I installed my own monochromatic white painting inside that. But you realize it upon a closer look, and then you see that the perspective lines are not over there. So that's the small trick that gives you that look. This is not an empty space. So in a way, as I said before, it's like trying to break the illusion, where everything can be illusion. Again, when I'm trying to break in the illusion, I'm not trying to say that this is my reality or this is the correct. It's just another possibility of looking at life. So that's it. I mean, it's because there's another range which we cannot even signalize it.
So speaking of reality, do you think that an artist has always to be out of step with the time?
I think an artist can feel all kinds of ways about time and place, and I mean, I think an artist is just needing to be in step with their instincts and how they're responding to life. Your turn.
I'm trying to be more, you know, time, I don't know, time is an illusion too, I don't know. I mean, like right now, I think that I'm living right now, but I don't know what is, I mean, the events that has an impact in my life, that's my motivation, and I'm trying to find out the dynamics behind it. But it doesn't matter. Sometimes you have to look at the history and find out what happened before, and then get some references and then put it in a different context and then create another possibility. Like as an event that happened in 1930s, you take that photograph, put it in the elements from now, and then it's a different context, and then it makes completely a different meaning then.
I have a question for all of you. So just because everyone's taking pictures and we are living in a like image world, you know, we don't text, we don't write, we just take some pictures and share it to tell what we think. And just because everyone's taking pictures, could we really say that it's the golden era of photography?
I mean, I hear more that it's that photography is dead. I don't know about what they say here in Istanbul, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know what is golden era, yeah, but everybody has an access, everybody can take a photograph, and so it's maybe pushing the limits of photography, and now people are trying to make artists who use photography as a tool, pushing more boundaries, but it's, I don't know, I don't have a definite answer for it.
I think really if somebody is making something and people are responding to it, then it's going to stay alive. And so far, I think people are still making pictures with the tool of a camera.
Yeah.
Therefore, it is photography, and so photography.
It's considered as a photography.
And there's a lot of really bad images on the internet, and Instagram has tons of bad images, but there's also some gems there. And every once in a while I find something and I'm just like, holy shit, I wish I thought of that. And that's good. So if you just because you have to weed through just because you have to weed through a lot more images now, there's also a lot more people on the planet. So I don't know how we determine these percentages. Maybe what Mike Figgis said about the quote about the having the same percentage of geniuses have always existed. So maybe if that's true, then just because there's more people in the world, percentage-wise, there'll be just as many. They'll just be just as much of a good percentage of having good artists.
I just read a review about you. It's titled Alex Prager was born in the wrong decade. Do you feel that way?
I feel very happy to be alive right now. Because if I was born earlier, I'd probably be dead. No, I think that was probably quoted when I was making work that was much more based in, I guess you'd say, the 50s and 60s. And I've really made an effort to try and make the work be much more spanning across a lot more decades, all the way up to the present day, so that they feel like they're from the past, but they also are contemporary to the present.
So, final question. What kind of image shape your reality now? Like, how can you describe?
I don't know, I'm just completely lost on Instagram every day, like spending 2 hours looking million different types of images, and I don't know what type of image inspires me. I know some certain type, but I'm trying to expand that, and I'm trying to get an inspiration from every kind of image. So there's no definite.
But it's a genre, so...
No, sometimes you make something from junk also, you know, it's just like you never know. It's like, I'm just trying to be open as much as I can, trying to expand my range of my selectiveness. Because in any case, there's no reality, or my reality, let's say 10 years ago, if you asked me that question, I would say, I don't like landscape pictures. For me, it's too boring. But now, I'm collecting landscape pictures. You know, it's like, it's just different, it's just like expanding your horizon. You know? The more you expand it, the more you have possibility, and then the more you enjoy life, I guess, I don't know.
What was the question? I was so interested in what you were saying.
So, you know, what kind of image shape your own reality now?
Oh, I'm very much drawing from my experiences in life. For instance, the crowd pictures. I don't know how many of that was my last big series that I made, was about crowds, and it was inspired by having to do things like this. For the first time in my life, over the past 3 or so years, I was being asked to speak publicly and travel more than ever, and so I was finding myself in airports and subways and the streets of New York with loud noises around me, and coming from Los Angeles, where you spend most of your time in your car. It was a very kind of, very jarring experience to suddenly being asked to stand in front of an audience and start talking, or to be really tired and be traveling through London Heathrow with my bags being too heavy and these crowds coming at me. And I just really noticed how my emotional state was affected by the crowds. And if I was already feeling a little bit lonely or homesick, then being around so many people would actually amplify that feeling, and I could feel lonelier than I'd ever felt being surrounded by people. And as well as if I was in a better mood, then I would just really start to notice all the details of the crowds around me, like what people were wearing, and just maybe a man walking by wearing an old suit that he bought 30 years ago, and he's 75 years old now, and he's still wearing that same suit, and where people might be going, and what, I started just thinking about all those things, just depending on how I was feeling. And so my inspirations, besides life experiences. It's also just other artists and movies. Like I just saw Mad Max.
Also, do you like it?
It's really good. It might be one of my favorite movies in the past 2 years, and so now I'm really thinking about car chases. So yeah, you never know where you're going to find your inspiration.
Does LA inspire you a lot?
Yeah, I would say
Because you know
LA.
what they say about LA, you just drive and think in the car and it's all about driving.
It's about a lot more than driving.
Okay, thank you a lot.
Thank you
So
very much.
now we have Q&A sessions and we'll take your questions to Alex and Arslan.
Okay, we can
Any
go.
questions?
Thank you very much.
Yes?
Is the mic working? Yeah. Okay, so considering you guys are both self-taught artists, what type of advice would you give me as a 17-year-old photographer wannabe? I would say.
Thanks.
You speak of
Ladies first.
Okay. Let's see. Well, I mean, the advice that I always say is don't listen to anyone and just trust yourself and follow your instincts and be ready to work really fucking hard.
Yeah, I think you have to take pictures as much as you can. You have to find out what has been done so far in photography, learn, educate yourself, read a lot about photography, and then, yeah, a lot of hard work, and then you will find your inspiration, your own way, your own reality.
Okay, thank you.
İkinci sıra.
Hi, you both are obviously very artistic people. I was wondering why you chose photography to be an outlet or a medium for your art and your views.
For me, it's easy to make, that's why.
Honestly, we like it. For me, it was less about the medium and more about what I could do within that medium. I just started, and now I've been taking pictures for 12 years, and I started making films 5 years ago, completely not thinking about filmmaking as a thing, but it just happened that that's what I've moved into next, and I don't know what's going to be next. If anything, maybe those are my two mediums, or maybe there'll be something else that I need to communicate, and it's best done through performance art or something. I don't know.
Cool, thank you.
Any questions? Mikrofonu ikinci sıraya alabilir miyiz?
Are you wanting to ask a question? Are you waiting? Do you need a microphone? Oh.
Nasıl?
I wanted to ask a question. Do you more take pictures, or do you find your images on the internet and manipulate them?
In the beginning, I was taking a lot of pictures, and now I'm not even taking pictures. Like my last two works, one of them I just download them from internet, and the other one I basically scan the iPhone screens by using the scanner. So for me now, it doesn't even matter if I have to take a photograph. As long as I find an image that I can use and put it in a different context, for me it's fine.
Okay, so you're constantly downloading images from the internet and
Yeah.
then categorizing them and
Oh.
thinking, okay, I might use it here and there.
Yeah, but it's not
Or do
like
you have
that.
a concept
Yeah.
that you have a goal, you know what you're looking for? Is it like,
Yeah, sometimes, but sometimes I'm completely looking at something different, and then I get an inspiration. Oh, maybe I can use this image in this context or something. So that's how it happens. But that doesn't mean that I'm not taking any photographs. Sometimes maybe I'll go back to old school photography again. But this is now, right now, I'm just, because we're in this, internet age, and then you have millions, billions of photographs, images every time. So sometimes I say, why should I take a picture? I'm a little bit lazy, that's why.
For you, have you started taking more pictures?
Me?
Yeah. In your own life, like.
Oh, I always take pictures. I always make my own pictures. But so see, we work. Our process is very different.
Yeah, so much different.
But in real life, I take very few pictures. I like to enjoy the moment and let it all happen. Because I think it's just interesting, like the way people pull out their phones to take a picture of a beautiful view, let's say, before they've actually experienced the view first.
Exactly.
They take the picture first and they make sure they get the selfie. And then maybe they put down the phone, and because I found a lot of times people will come up to me at openings more recently. Used to be that people would come up to me and have a lot of questions for me about my process, and then maybe they would remember, if they wanted to take a picture, they would remember to ask me. But now much more people are just wanting to take a picture without even introducing
Or
themselves.
without asking any
No
questions.
questions anymore. Just the picture, and then I'm like, okay, bye. So yeah, it's fun.
Question on you. Is your work commissioned, or do you organize and finance everything ahead and with your own means?
Yeah.
How is that?
I just do the picture. It's not commissioned.
It's not commissioned.
No.
Okay. Another thing is, when you, it's a question on both of you actually, when you strip the images out of their context and then bring them completely in a different world, and how is the, do you already have a concept in your head, or is it playing around, and what inspires you? Is it just by accident? You just
No.
You just do this and that, and then say, oh, this is the best one. Or?
Sometimes by chance, when you're working on something in my work, sometimes by chance, I'm trying to do something else, but all of a sudden I discover something and I put it in a different way. But generally I start with a concept and then the rest comes. So that's why, for me, it's much easier to find a ready-made image. So I'm trying to, I have a certain concept in my head, and then I search for it. If I find it, I'll use it. If I don't find it, I'll make it.
Where do you get your concepts from?
My concept is more like trying to make invisible things in our lives visible. So that's actually all about photography also. Trying to make some of the illusions more, look, this is an illusion actually, this is not the way you see it.
Son iki soru daha, 3 soru daha alıyorum. Önce bir burası, sonra siz olsun.
Sorum şu, acaba dedim hangi tip fotoğraflar sizi ilgilendiriyor? Özel bir alanınız var mı? Bir de özel bir soru soracağım. Çok şık görünüyorsunuz. Bu arabada hep zamanım geçiyor diyordunuz. Bu vücudunuzu nasıl muhafaza edebiliyorsunuz böyle şey?
Is that for me? That question?
Sorular mı? Alex'e galiba.
Alex, she says you look great, you said, and you dress very well. How do you keep your form?
Thank you.
Just saying, we drive all the time, so...
Oh, you actually want to know if I exercise or something? Oh, you want me to? You actually want to know? That's funny. Well, there's all kinds of ways to keep fit. I mean, in California, people eat really well. They eat salads, and the vegan diet is really popular. It's happening. That's good.
Mikrofonu eline sola.
Ben ikinize de sormak isterim ama özellikle size sormak istiyorum. Şimdi internetten indirdiniz veya belli şeyleri birleştirdiniz. Demin de görmüştük, çok da güzel, etkileyici bir fotoğraftı. Şimdi altına imza atmak konusunda biraz tedirgin olur musunuz, yoksa siz yaptınız o işi mi düşünürsünüz?
Yani evet devamlı tartışılan bir konu ama ben onu alıp başka bir şeye dönüştürüyorum. Yani alıp da birebir aynı şekilde kullanmıyorum. Aynı birebir kullanıyor olsam haklısınız ama onu alıp bambaşka bir şeye dönüştürdüğüm için o zaman bir problem olmuyor.
Son bir soru alıp
Bana dava açan olmadı. Yani başka bir fotoğrafını kullanıyorum diye. Yani olmadı. Efendim bir daha söyler misiniz? Telif haklarını mı nerede alıyorum? Image Bank'ten aldığım da oluyor. Bazen de dediğim gibi direkt internetten, blogdan alıyorum. Evet.
son bir soru. Buyurun.
Hello, I have a question for Alex. I went to see your exhibition and your model is a female. Is her gender is a big effect on her feelings? Is her
gender a big effect on the face?
Feelings.
Oh, feelings. Oh, well, the show that's up right now kind of spans the past maybe 7 or 8 years of my work, and very much in the beginning and up until very recently, I was definitely focused on a single woman in the image. And I think it was I just understand the emotional and psychological states that women are in or can be in much more than I understand men. But so I began with the thing that I know really well, because I find all of that really interesting and complex, and it was fun to show the heightened versions of those emotions that I've experienced. But now I'm very much interested in using men and showing different psychological states of men too. So we'll see.
Thank you.
Evet, katıldığınız için çok teşekkürler. İlginiz için.